Afternoon, I guess. It's already 12:15, 12:20. The day flies when you're having Joomla fun. Today we're going to talk about migration, and that's migration of Joomla from 1.5 all the way up to 3.0. My name is Robert Jacobi. I'm president of ARC Technology Group, and I'll run through some slides, and we'll also do some demos going from 1.5 all the way up to 3.0, a couple different ways. As a first question, how many people here are still on 1.5 websites? Wow. So no, I'm actually shocked. And how many people are planning on doing straight upgrades or rebuilding? So let's do straight upgrade, hands up. So that's a small percentage there. And then a lot of people think they're going to rebuild from scratch with 2.5, 3.0 going forward. Okay, great. So some customers don't want to pay for the time to go from 1.5 to 2.5 or 3.0. We'll talk about some reasons why they should. So let's just jump into the presentation here. Oh, and you can reach me at Twitter handle for the company at ArcTG, our website arctg.com, or at Robert Jacobi. So a little bit about ARC Technology Group. We are a 12-year-old web development shop, having specialized in Joomla and content management for almost the entire life of our company. The company began using Mambo many a moon ago and has transitioned from going through Mambo to Joomla 1.5, now 2.5, and 3.0. So we do a lot of custom applications as well. 12 years of content management experience. So that's across a number of different content management systems. We love Joomla, and it's been a great boon for us to do work with our clients. Again, mentioned as custom development. We do that a lot. We're also using the Joomla Platform API now on a lot of custom projects. That makes it easy to also bolt on a CMS later on in the day. We work with Fortune 50 entrepreneurial companies, so all shapes and sizes, all scopes of projects. Those can be entertaining, challenging, difficult, hair-tearing, the whole gambit. And we love Joomla. We do almost all of our work with Joomla on a project basis. There's a quick little vision of how we like to work with Joomla, and we see it as much as the Joomla team sees it, as it's a dynamic, utilizing multiple frameworks to get things done easily. So we see that a lot with the responsive and Twitter Bootstrap work that's been done. So we like to, also take that into account for, doing websites with templates, tablets, as well as other mobile devices. And just a little bit of last stuff that we do. We work a lot with Joomla in the community. So we sponsor Joomla Chicago. We present at Jane Beyond, obviously at World Conference, sponsored CMS Expo, Joomla Camp New York, a number of events around the country and world. We also work on the future roadmap. We participated in that at Jane Beyond and the 2011 Joomla Chicago, where the project leadership team met to go over the progress and roadmap for where Joomla is today and where it's going tomorrow. Let's get to the fun stuff. So everyone's worked with Joomla to some degree here, obviously, since everyone's got a 1.5 site almost. We'll just go over quickly with some of the basic parts of Joomla as just a refresher and the issues that come about. So Joomla has its code, the core code, and that constitutes templates, extensions, modules, plugins, components throughout all the versions, 1.5, 2.5, and the 3 branch. They've gone through different changes, anything from just handling how the packages are installed to the actual interactions with the databases and templates. So we have the HTML, we have the CSS, JavaScript. It's wonderful to see Joomla moving from MooTools to jQuery, because we just can't stand working with MooTools, and the PHP. The other core component or core part of Joomla is the assets. So we think of this as all the media assets, images, other media assets. And then the database. And what started out as just a MySQL database is now expanded from Joomla 2.5 to include MS SQL, Oracle, and now Joomla 3.0 also supports Postgres. So that's great to see. So these are the sort of the big screen views. This is code, and if you've dug around in any of the core components, third-party extensions, it's a lot of PHP interactions with everything. We also have the assets. So these are just fun images, some of the default images that come out of everything from 1.5 to 3.0. There's always been that food section, we just don't know why. And the database. This is our friend that holds everything, and it's probably gone through some of the most significant changes in the last couple of major releases, being able to support different database structures using abstraction layer. And this is just a PHP MyAdmin screenshot of MySQL database for Joomla 1.5. The core Joomla features that get affected by every migration include the articles. They include the topology, which changed dramatically from 1.5 to 2.5. So the sections and categories that you may be comfortable and familiar with in 1.5 no longer exist in 2.5 and 3.0. We just have categories, nesting of categories, infinite nesting of categories, and the extensions. So that includes the modules, the plugins, and the components, which are almost mini applications that sit within Joomla. Some of you probably used them many times, Akiba being one of them, that we like to use and recommend. Here's our favorite article. On the end user side, it's pretty much unchanged throughout the versions. The topology is the one that's probably done some of the most significant end user changes. No longer do you have to worry about just the limited section category setup. It's nested categories, infinite nested categories, so you can keep putting articles under articles under articles in different categories. And the extensions, which have changed dramatically as well, being able to support automatic updating in 2.5 of both the core code as well as third-party extensions. And we're going to jump to migration here, and we'll also soon do demos of 2 ways of handling migrations from 1.5 to 3.0. Biggest thing before we start doing migrations is backing up. This is critical. So back up your source code. There are many ways to do it. The old school way is, do a MySQL dump, save all your database information in a separate file, and zip up all your files, all your data files. We do this in conjunction with Akiba Backup. Akiba makes it very easy to do many installs or many backups very quickly and is native to Joomla. Then you're going to install your new Joomla. And then for one of the methods, it's going to be installing SP Upgrade. This is actually a for-cost third-party extension, and it's about 30 euro, so however anyone wants to do the math for dollars, probably about $45. But we find it very compelling to use. There are 2 overall methods of how migrations have been done, especially from 1.5 to 2.5. There's the method of installing a component or extension onto your 1.5 install. This is how JUpgrade works. You install it onto your 1.5 install, hit go, and it begins the process of updating all the files in your 1.5 install. The SP Upgrade process is slightly different, and we're going to go through that, is where you install a fresh, brand new install of Joomla 2.5 or Joomla 3.0 and install the component into that new version and point the component to the existing 1.5 version. That way you never worry about totally corrupting your source install, and it pulls the database and files into the new install, doing all the database transformations for all the content. Did I say back up? Back up. Back up your source, back up your new directories, everything. We can't emphasize it enough. There's nothing wrong with it. It's hard drive space is free, or almost, so just back up. And then we're going to install Joomla. So you'll install your 2.5 or 3.0 version. Most of the best ways of handling the migration are going from 1.5 to 2.5 and then migrating up to 3.0. You can also do a direct 1.5 to 3.0 migration, which we'll show you. Then we'll install SP Upgrade on both a 2.5 and 3.0 Joomla install and show you how that sucks the Joomla 1.5 information out. Again, it keeps everything on the Joomla 1.5 site. It just copies it over into the new Joomla install. Again, I don't know how to pronounce the website that makes this, cyend.com. And now it's demo time, so I'm going to sit down here and jump into our installs of 1.5, 2.5, and 3.0. This is your standard Joomla 1.5 install. We're going to use the default demo data that Joomla 1.5 provides. We've already installed Joomla 2.5 locally here. It's empty, it's blank, it's unhappy. So we're going to run into the administrator. It's hard to type with one hand. If at any point anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise a hand, shout out, judge me, critique me. Log into our completely empty Joomla 2.5 install. What we've done already is install SP upgrade. It's a component. The package that you're able to get from their site includes both the 2.5 and 3.0 installs. So there's a Joomla 2.5 upgrade, which is just a standard component install, and then 3.0 is a package install. Either way, it's not going to look very different while you're installing it. After we've installed it, we run to the components SP upgrade component, and we see that it's failed to connect to the source database. So what we're going to do now is configure it so it can actually find the Joomla 1.5 install. Most of this you can leave completely as default in the configuration permission settings. Since we have a brand new Joomla 2.5 installed, we're not worried about corrupting anything in 2.5 at the moment. Database type setup, host in this case is localhost. We'll set the database name, which is in this case eval Joomla 1.5. Our database username, Joomla. You can find these in your configuration.php file as well on Joomla 1.5. In the configuration PHP file, you can find your username and database name and password if you've forgotten them or lost them, which I'm sure most people have because they just kind of let it run in after it's been set up. Let's grab our password here. It's long, it's confusing. Copy and paste that. When we're migrating from 1.5, the default 1.5 install has a database prefix of JOS underscore. So we're going to put that there. Joomla 2.5 and 3.0 assign random database prefix. It's a security measure, so people can't just start looking for the tables and trying to hack at those. And then we're going to choose the source path for our files so that it can find images and media assets. So we'll copy that over. This is again, these are all from the source Joomla 1.5 install. We're not copying any database information from the 2.5 install, nothing from the 2.5 directories. Again, point to your 1.5 database as well as your 1.5 directory structure. So we'll save and close. Ta-da! Connection. You can actually do FTP-based file names and all that. And if you have your database set up so you can connect to it remotely between two different servers, you'll have to open up ports on MySQL to allow that on your firewall, but you can point to that as well. So here we've connected. Yay, it's healthy, everything's good. This is the list of all items that SP Upgrade will attempt to migrate from Joomla 1.5 to 2.5. Right off the bat, it's probably best just to select everything because it is a new install. Again, you're not going to harm or hurt anything. A key note, templates are not necessarily converted, so it'll utilize the default templates that you have on your Joomla 2.5 or 3.0 install as it adds the content. Templates and third-party extensions are those things that you wind up having to tweak afterwards. So we've selected everything we want to upgrade or transfer. Then we can click the transfer button. If you can see that in the upper right, it'll ask you if you want to proceed. This is our 2.5 install, so it's just saying on this 2.5 install, do you want to proceed? We say yes. It's going to run this a couple times. This is the log screen. We're not going to wait 15 seconds. We'll just hit a refresh right away. And we see that everything's been processed except the templates. We can jump back into our Joomla 2.5 install. We can go ahead and look at the menu manager. We have menus that that didn't exist there before. We have all the menu items. We have articles. And now we can jump to the Joomla 2.5 install that used to be empty. Oops. Oh, Google. And now we have content from our 1.5 site migrated to 2.5. So that's a very easy process, assuming everything is core, nothing too funky going on with your site. We're going to You can use that as many. It's a component that you install. You can use as many times as you want. So the question was, are there any limitations on SP upgrade? And there aren't. They upgrade. You get updates for life, and so they updated when 3.0 was released. They upgraded to support 3.0. To look at how that works, we're going to jump into our 3.0 site. And again, repeat the process. Oops, maybe we should remove the install folder. There we go. Okay, so we have a brand new empty Joomla 3.0 install. We're going to go into the administrator for that. And typing with one hand. We'll log into the Joomla 3.0 admin. Again, very empty, lonely, unfriendly. We'll go into the extensions, go into the extension manager. We're going to choose and upload the SP upgrade for Joomla 3.0. So this is the package upgrade. Upload and install this. And now we can look into our components and see that we have SP upgrade. Click on that. Again, we have an error connect to the database. So we'll go through the very similar process, clicking options. Select the database tab, and let's go through selecting our database name, which is eval_j15. Okay, question? Just the two just the two MySQLs. So one of the limitations is right now this only works with the MySQL database for upgrade. We do a lot of work with MS SQL as well, so that process does not work because there's a lot of direct database queries to do copies from one table to another, from one database to another. So this is strictly at the moment just the MySQL process. We selected our database, again our 1.5 database. Let's put in our database username, our password, and then our database table prefix. Again, since this is a 1.5 install, you're typically going to have a JOS database prefix. And then the installation path, which again is the install path of Joomla 1.5. So whenever you're putting in the parameters, these are the locations of everything from the Joomla 1.5 install. Okay, that looks good. Let's do save and close. And now we have connection success. Not the fun giant green banner, but at least we know it's working. Now we can go ahead and select everything we want to migrate up. Select that all, just double check. And we're going to click the transfer button. Now we'll get a request again. Do we want to proceed? Yes, this is our Joomla 3.0 upgrade. And it's going to do this again, which is just jump into the log screen. Since we don't have a lot of files and assets, it's a very quick process. Again, we have template problems. And now the process is complete. So let's get out of the log screen because we'll keep updating. And let's look at the Joomla 3.0 site, and here we have all the Joomla 1.5 content on Joomla 3.0. So here you're able to do a direct migration from Joomla 1.5 to 3.0. And we think this is great. It's a great way to, at a minimum, move all the content you may have accumulated, especially if you're on 1.5 over many years, and pushing it to the latest releases of Joomla. Another method for upgrading a Joomla site is to use the built-in JUpgrade component that comes with J2.5. So this is the component that handles all the maintenance releases and minor releases of Joomla 2.5. You can also use it to actually migrate up to Joomla 3.0. The process for that is not that difficult. Okay, so we have, this is a Joomla 2.5 site with the default content already added into there. We want to migrate this up to 3.0. So we'll go into the administrator and we'll log in. Standard default install, standard default content, and you'll see in your components section the Joomla update button. It also runs the Joomla update portion that you see here. But if we go into the component, we can actually change some options that dictate where and what versions of Joomla are going to be updated. So by default, Joomla is set up to use long-term support releases. So we see here we have the update server. So what server is it grabbing version information from? If we have long-term support, those are going to be the versions that are incremental to the long-term release that you're running on. So right now the only long-term release we really have is 2.5. So the long-term support server is only going to grab 2.5 updates. When 3.5 gets released, the long-term support server for that will only get 3.5 updates. To take advantage of JUpdate to migrate from 2.5 to 3.0, we can actually select the short-term support update server. So now it'll look for updates that appear on the short-term support cycle. So in this case, it'll be 2.5, then 3, then 3.0, 3.01, 3.1, 3.2, until we hit the next long-term support. We can save and close the configuration screen. And now it'll see, excuse me, that an update was found. So we see our current version is Joomla 2.58, and the latest Joomla version is 3.02. This is the package URL where it's going to grab information from, and we're going to write files directly to this install. We'll click the Install the Update button, and we're going to let it do its thing. So it's going to go out to the install server, it's going to grab the files, it's going to copy the package over, it's going to unzip the files and copy all the files over, and do the upgrade process that's built in. So we can see here that it's updating all of our Joomla files, all the bytes, percentage complete. We tick, tick, tick. All the files extracted, and now our Joomla 2.5 install has been migrated up to Joomla 3.0. We can already see that in the administrator portion. Click the control panel. Since we started out in Joomla 2.5, we're now in a 3.0 install from a basic Joomla 2.5 install. In this case, it leaves whatever template was already available. So it's going to use bees because that was the default template we had at Joomla 2.5. Unlike the SP upgrade process from 1.5 to 3.0 or 2.5 to 3.0, you'll use the default template that comes with 3.0. In this case, it's going to try to take advantage of the fact that we already have bees and use bees that comes with 3.0. To change it, we just go into our extensions, template manager, and where are we? And we'll select bees 5. Should do the trick. Actually, I keep forgetting which was our favorite user template for. We'll just look at bees 5. That's the fruits. Blue stork default administrator. Oh, there we are. So protostar, which is the default Joomla 3.0 template. Now we have our 2.5 site migrated up to 3.0. Oops. Let's go back to playing this. Troubleshooting. So what we were able to do is just use the default Joomla core components, including modules, extensions, plugins, and migrate those up. Templates and third-party extensions often cause many, many problems, especially third-party templates which have not been upgraded to take advantage of any of the new features, as well as extensions. We find that when migrating, it's a good time to actually review what extensions you're currently using, figure out what to get rid of, what may be new that's more supported, that's better supported, and migrate that content and functionality individually from your 1.5 to 3.0 or 1.5 to 2.5 upgrade. So just as a quick summary, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions, we're going to jump. It is possible to jump from 1.5 to 3.0 directly and take advantage of all that functionality that comes with 3.0. Level of difficulty varies, and we'll go into some probably specific instances where that's difficult, what the process is, some things we've discovered as we've done this across many projects. And last but not least, if you can migrate up to 2.5, you can definitely take advantage of the Joomla update component in 2.5. This is nice because it supports much more of the functionality. The 3.0, 2.5 to 3.0 update is not as severe, not as complicated as going from 1.5 to 2.5. There are less dramatic changes to a lot of the core functionalities of Joomla, especially the MVC architecture, the platform that are being utilized. Alrighty, so let's have some questions. Good? Yes? So do we? So the question is, do we have a boilerplate for new installs? So do we have a custom set of templates and extensions that we use? So yes, so we have a number of extensions that we prefer to use. Things as simple as Akiba or Chronoforms that we use in the process. When we do the upgrade process for third-party extensions, one of the tricks that we've learned is the database gets migrated pretty much completely over from 1.5 to 2.5 or 2.5 to 3.0. So all that data will come across. What sometimes won't occur is the extension being recognized. So if you know you're using something like Chronoforms, the data will be hiding in your database. The trick is to install the latest version of that component. So if you're going from 1.5 to 2.5, install that 2.5 version of a component, or extension, I should say. Install that 2.5 extension, uninstall it, and then reinstall it. Because what happens is there may be some leftover installation cruft, garbage in your database from the 1.5 to 2.5. So to really make sure it's a clean install of a 2.5 component or extension, upload the extension, uninstall it, reinstall it. All your data behind that extension is going to still be in the database. It's just cleaning a lot of files out from the actual extension directory, as well as making sure that Joomla recognizes it as a properly installed extension. Yes? Yes. So the question is, during the install process or the upgrade process, what can happen is the process will hang. That will occur on very large sets of data. The nice thing about having it run, if you run it on the same server to do the upgrade, that process is a lot faster because you're running directory to directory and it's not going to get hung up. And a lot of the issues that SP Upgrade had when it first started out to do the 1.5 to 2.5, those were resolved in handling that. Other tricks are making sure that you increase memory allocation in PHP, for example. Because what happens a lot of times is that just the memory blows out depending on how much content you have that needs to be handled. Yes. Yeah, that's actually the preferred method. So we like to set up a staging site on the same box, do the upgrade, because again, you're never really touching the core, or we can also just copy the initial site over to the new server, run it from there. It's nice to do the upgrade on the same box. That's really our preferred method. That's the least amount of problems. So you have the full directory tree available to you, direct access to the database. There's less room for error. Additional questions? Yes, back there. We've had a number of those. uh, this, so the question is, are there standouts of sites that we should not migrate right now? Well, if there's a component that is critical to the client on a Joomla 1.5 site, we look for third-party alternatives, or we're rebuilding it from scratch for 2.5. There are very many benefits to move up to 2.5 and 3.0. The architecture is a lot cleaner, a lot tighter. 2.5 has been thoroughly tested, and the automatic, or at least very much automated update process for any maintenance updates that happen, it makes life so much easier in the long run. Staying on 2.5, the site will work. It's no longer supported by the community, so you have what you have. If something comes up, and there's a hole, a hack, or whatnot, you're kind of sitting by yourself. So at a minimum, we recommend everyone moving up to 2.5 just to take advantage of the maintenance releases that happen early and often. So red flags, custom components. Content is not so much, large volumes of content is not so much a red flag. It's really the types of components that are being used. We look to find, again, it's a great time to evaluate what components and extensions are on your 1.5 site, what's going to be useful in the future. Look for third-party tools that have followed that process along. They'll have the best idea of also how to migrate their own content. So if you're looking at something like K2 or Flexi content that's also bolted on, they'll have additional processes to migrate from 1.5 to 2.5 to 3.0. And that's the way we try to evaluate components, evaluate extensions. Back in the purple hat beat. No. We always use this to migrate all the default content over. It's pretty seamless, pretty one click. When we start, we want to spend effort more on rebuilding the templates and any kinds of third-party extensions. Yes. Correct. So the SP upgrade. So the question is, how do we handle the third-party extensions from 1.5 to 2.5? So SP upgrade will actually copy over all the databases in your Joomla database. So that data for any third-party extensions is hidden in tables, but what gets kind of lost and crufted up is the install information for your third-party extensions sometimes. It handles a lot of them, some of the more popular ones kind of natively, but your best bet is to, again, install the latest version of that third-party extension onto your Joomla, uninstall it, again, clean out anything that might be confusing, and then reinstall it. Sometimes you may have to change some of your default parameters after that final reinstall, but we find that really solves a lot of problems, especially as those extensions do automatic updates and things like that. Correct. Okay, so the question is, what do you do with a lot of the assets that come with some of this third-party extensions? So maybe it's a slideshow extension that has your slides in its own, or even the way Akiba handles its backups. It's in the administrator component, Akiba backup directories. Yes, those files have to be moved over. It tries to SP Upgrade tries to update all the media files, assets that it sees on an uninstall. I'm trying to remember exactly how most extensions work. I think on an uninstall, it only removes its core files and leaves the data structure in place. It's a question, and your mileage may vary. So again, if you're missing files that are asset files for slideshows or backups or other data assets, you'll have your original 1.5 installed, so you're never losing that. You may have to copy some of those directories manually over. Yes. Okay, so the question is the differences between SP upgrade and J upgrade. Are you talking from going from 2.5 to 3? Okay, so from 1.5 to 2.5, the way J upgrade works is that it is installed on the 1.5 site, and then it runs the process and updates all the files on that 1.5 site to push it up to 2.5. We found that process is a bit too much behind the scenes for what we want to know what's going on, and it may not work as successfully as having a brand new install with a good Joomla base that you're upgrading data to. We like to have a clean install of the latest version of the software. So what you're really doing is you have your 1.5 site with whatever other garbage it's got on there, and you're bolting on the 2.5 new core files, so it will work, but it may also have a lot more unknown problems, unforeseeable problems, because you're kind of merging a 1.5 and 2.5 install into the same directory structure. So we like to always go clean. That always sets us up for working better in the future. If you're already on 2.5, we actually really like the J upgrade process, because at that point it's built and set up as part of its core to do incremental migrations from 2.5 to 3.0, all that kind of stuff. I hope that answers the question. On the SP upgrade, again, you're installing a new Joomla install and pointing back to the original and just copying really the assets and data that you need. You're not worrying about the files. They both, we find that SP upgrade has less work at the end of the day, because you're doing less bug testing, less figuring out where errors may have occurred. Because you know you have a base foundation that for sure this is a clean install of 2.5. The Joomla 1.5 install is no longer clean. You know, there may be core hacks to it that didn't get overwritten. Maybe there's, we've just found that in our best practice is to use a brand new install when we're doing something from 1.5 to 2.5. Without a doubt, we've had definitely more headaches doing it the other way. Yes. So you have, so the question is, there are two versions of the site on. And that's the live site right now? So you want to, it's a 1.5 site, you want to migrate it up to 2.5. Do you want to keep it on your same host, or you're switching hosts as well? So in that case, your host should be able to set up a 2.5 install, and then you can ask your host for any of the database credentials that you may or may not have readily accessible, and any file directories, and they should be able to provide those to you. If you're using something like cPanel, you can see that in cPanel as well, where the files are. If you need to find out your database credentials for Joomla 1.5, go into the configuration.php file, and there'll be, I don't remember the actual tags for them, but there's something password, database, and that'll give you database user. That'll give you those 3 points that you need to point the SP upgrade to the source database. You can always just, if you're going to do it all locally, you can always just put a keep on 1.5, back that up, run it locally, do a Joomla 2.5 also locally on a separate directory, do it all over there, and then re-upload your whole 2.5 site, if that makes it easier when dealing with the host. Yes? No. The quick answer is no. The question is, can you synchronize updates if you paused the update or you've started the update and completed it and rerun the update? If you're going to rerun the update, we just suggest reinstalling that Joomla install and starting from scratch. The process overall is not that long. I mean, put the original site in maintenance mode and then let it run. I think the longest we've really ever seen on a site is probably about 30 to 45 minutes running the whole process, soup to nuts. That's on a larger site. You do it. It's just maintenance, and definitely don't try to run the update on multiple times on the same site. I pretty much guarantee that's going to cause problems. Okay. Yes. In the case of something as large, so the question is, how do we handle? I'm just going to stop it quickly because Community Builder is a good example of a very large product. So the question is, how do you handle a large third-party extension like Community Builder? In the case of the Community Builder, I would go through the Community Builder process for how they want to see how they see migrations occur. I'm trying to remember, I haven't used Community Builder in a while. I think they have a way to export everything out in the first place. So the process is probably slightly different, where you're installing everything, installing and uninstalling the component, and then re-uploading your Community Builder data, because it's a really heavy component, obviously. So they will have their own specific way of handling that kind of migration. Most modules, plugins, that can be handled easily just through the SP upgrade process, because they're not screwing around with as much data as a component like Community Builder. Yes? We always keep those archived. So the question is, do we keep our old databases from 1.5? We keep those. We just archive them in case of emergency or what have you. We'll take them offline. We'll actually, in that case, we'll do a MySQL dump, zip that up, take all the files, zip them up so we have them somewhere if we need to reinstall, and get that up and running in case we've missed something. Usually it's files that we just have to look through the directory structure if we missed an asset somewhere. But yeah, there's no reason to delete it. You should always keep an archive of all that information. You never know when that'll be useful. Yes? We figure out which one's going to make us the most money. But we're very proactive with all our clients. So when 2.5 came out, we let them all know that it's coming out, that there is end of life for 1.5, and they should really evaluate how they would like to handle that. Some of the points we put out are it's so much easier just to update going forward. There's easier to take advantage of. When 3.0 comes out, we have built-in Bootstrap and responsive design techniques that we can take advantage of. So we tell them what's come down the pipeline, and we let them know that for their site, and we done this with all of them, that 1.5 is end of life. So, and we can support it, but we will also have to support it at a much higher premium than we would normally. So when they start hearing that, well, if anything goes wrong, it's really going to cost me 10x as opposed to X, that helps them evaluate the process of what they want to do with their site. And it gives us an opportunity to build a new and better site with 2.5. So we have all the content that we can migrate over, and then we can reevaluate everything that's going on as well. So from a business perspective, we encourage migration early and often, just because it saves there's so many headaches that you can have by still being on 1.5. Well, that's probably one of the bigger ones. Is what are the headaches of still remaining on 1.5? Any kinds of security issues, those are not supported anymore, and it's much easier to have a huge community putting up updates for security than just one firm trying to look and find out what the problem is. And if it's a hacking issue, you've already got a bigger problem because you've found out the hard way. So you're already looking to restore data. You're trying to figure out where that hack occurred. How do we prevent that hack from happening again? And at that point, it becomes very costly and time-consuming for the client, as well as their site is down for at least some period of time to manage that. Additionally, a lot of third-party extensions are not being updated and supported as well. So not only do you have the core security issues, you have third-party security issues. So third parties update their extensions to make sure they're also secure and taking advantage of the latest features. So you're really missing it out in both ways. Alrighty. I'm not going to keep people from lunch, but thank you very much, and good luck migrating.